Good morning, everybody. I am Michael DeVellis. This is the Powder Group Conversations, and we are with Eugenia Weston on Tenacity today. Before we get started, as always, I would like to thank our sponsors. Number one, and most importantly today, Sana Cosmetics, of which Eugenia is the founder, as we know, Skindinavia, Cinema Secrets, Omnia, Beekman 1802, and Muse Beauty Pro. Without those 6 brands supporting our entire programming for the year, it would be incredibly difficult for us to be able to put all this stuff out for you guys. So thank you, Eugenia, and thank you all of our brands for all of your support as we have all been going through this last year and into what will be an exciting next step for our industry in the future. So good morning, Eugenia. Yes, bright and early. As I keep saying to you, the early bird gets the worm. So we are up and early. You're going to get those worms. So first question to you. And I always ask this of our guests on the Powder Group Conversations. We're talking about tenacity today, right? We're gonna have a half an hour talking about tenacity. What does that word mean to you?
It means never quitting, just going for it, always being there, being reliable, being committed to what you're doing, having a purpose. I think having a lot of resilience and, perseverance.
Now, for those who may be watching this in rewatch on YouTube or who don't have a familiarity with your history and your background, you just described all those words. You just described your 30 plus years in this industry. You commit, you have purpose, you've reshaped and shifted when you needed to. You have commitment, you have perseverance. It's kind of amazing as someone who's had the great fortune of being able to be within eyesight, within sight of you, to watch what you do and how you do it over the many years that we've been connected and the many years we've been friends. But I think what's really interesting to me is how you've shifted your career. And I want to talk a little bit about your career path. And then I have some questions about that path that have to do with tenacity, perseverance, all that stuff. So before I do that, though, I just want to say, I like to pull up the definition of the word that we're working with, and you kind of nailed it. Like I pulled up a couple different definitions. It talks about, you said perseverance, you said the idea of persistence, resilience. It says the quality of being able to grip something firmly. That's kind of strong, right? The power, the ability to grip something firmly, the quality of being able to be determined, or the quality of determination, the quality or fact, and this is so powerful, this one little sentence to me after this year, the quality or fact of continuing to exist. Ooh, wait a minute. That is this year by definition, right? Getting through this year. Before we got to this year, though, you had how many years in this industry? And can you give us, we could talk for hours just about your history, but give us bullet points. Like I started here, I then did this is how I started the brand, and now here we are today.
I started in my bathroom at 13 years old. I did all the makeup on my high school girlfriends. I worked at a drugstore behind the makeup counter. I worked at a high-end salon. Then I worked at a second high-end salon where I developed my brand, Senna. And then I did hair shows. I did makeup for all the hair shows for Sebastian International. And during that time, it was a very high-end salon, so it was very popular. And by doing all the makeups that I was doing, I started working with a lot of photographers and doing test shoots and all that. So the photographers that I was working with at that time ended up allowing me to be booked then for shoots that we would get paid for. And that's actually really how I met like the celebrities that I started working with. And then when I started working with celebrities, then I got into doing television, film, runway, a lot of editorial, magazine shoots, all of that. And then, within all that time, I always was creating my brand, and I had makeup studios. So I had several makeup studios. So I trained and employed a lot of makeup artists. So during me doing all the freelance stuff, I was also having my business and training staff, managing stores, and also serving and servicing my own private consumer clientele.
How long ago did you launch your first studio, your first store?
1976, I launched Senna in a salon. And then 1982, I launched my first freestanding makeup studio in Southern California.
Where was that location? Was that the Beverly Hills store?
No, that was in Tarzana, California, in the San Fernando Valley.
Yeah. So that was in the 70s. That's kind of incredible, right? When you look back at that.
76,
and then fast forward to today, you're still working with celebrity clients. You still have your businesses, your brick and mortar. You still have your line. That takes tenacity. That's a path. I think when we look at our audience, Eugenia, and our audience at the Powder Group is made up of those working artists who are hustling every day to get that bridal client, to do those commercial jobs. It's also students. It's also educators. It's also TV and film people from 706, 798. So we've got a great range of folks. But I think when I look at you and I think, as a coach, I listen to people all the time say, oh, I really want to have my own line. I want to open my own studio. I want to do this. And I think to myself, I would look at Eugenia Weston. I look at you and think, I want to be Eugenia Weston when I grow up, but I don't do makeup. So as someone who wants to create these things, there is a path, but it's not an always easy path. So my question to you is, in order to get through this and get to where you are today, what are some of the things that you use as tools to help you when you are facing a challenge? Maybe it's about how do you bounce back? How do you get, you're hitting a challenge in the running of a business. You're hitting a challenge. You're slow as a freelancer. You're hitting a challenge. Sales aren't what you want them to be in color cosmetics. How do you, as a business owner and an artist, bounce back from that? How do you exhibit tenacity in that capacity?
Well, this is a good time right now to talk about that, because I think right now is one of my biggest challenges I've ever had, having to close my studios for 1 year and having to clock up all the rent that we now owe our landlords without any income coming in, because our makeup studios are the main, the main source of our income. And then also my guilt and my sorrowful feelings about my staff not having a job that we have trained and supported them all these years. So what we did was we applied for the PPP loan, and we did get it. So we were able to pay our employees their full pay. Wow. For that whole time when we had our first shutdown. It was very challenging to do that. And it was hard, and it was upsetting emotionally, because we just didn't know what was going to be happening. And we actually kind of still don't. We had 3 shutdowns, and the second shutdown, we weren't able to pay our employees. So we had to furlough them. And that really made my heart break, to do that. And some of my staff, then they were not able to hang on, and they had to find employment elsewhere, like in other fields, like being an account payable and different types of fields like that, not even makeup, because in Los Angeles, in California, we weren't even able to work in the beauty industry at all. So I feel like this was one of my biggest challenges, because financially, emotionally, we don't even know right now about the future of our makeup studios, honestly. So we are figuring all that out right now, and it's rough. It's really rough.
How do you manage that? And this might sound silly, but you put on this face, literally and figuratively. It's positive, it's upbeat, it's energetic, it's supportive. But yet you're dealing with a lot of stuff that a lot of our folks are dealing with and have been dealing with. And we deal with this, one of the first things we talk about, you and I have talked about this job never gets that much easier. You could be in it 30 years, 20 years, 5 minutes. It's a hustle and it's hard. And, when you go through emotional, energetic moments like you're describing, how do you come up from that?
You know what? I realize that I'm a really strong person. I'm really strong. A lot of stuff doesn't get me down that much. I feel like I haven't been that stressed out as other members of my team, and I feel like because I've been in it for so long, I really have such confidence in myself that I just feel I know I'm going to get through it. I know I am. I just know I am. I always have. Not that I've had challenges like this, because really I have been really blessed in my career. Things have always come to me, and I have taken them as a blessing, as a gift. And I haven't had that many challenges. This I would say is my biggest challenge that I've had in my business. I mean, managing staff, there have been challenges there. I should say this, after training a lot of makeup artists, and then they're with me for many, many, many decades or years, whatever, and then they build up a huge clientele because we develop them as artists, because the artists that start working for me come out of aesthetic school and they don't really have the knowledge. So I have a very in-depth training I take them through in order for them to develop as a great artist, because the clients expect greatness when they come in our studios, artistry greatness. And I have very high standards. So a lot of times what happens when they build up a clientele, they want to go on their own. And then it puts me in a position where I have to rehire and retrain. That is quite challenging for me, because I have to start over again. And then the clients don't come back. They follow that person. Some come back, some don't come back. That has been a big challenge throughout my whole entire career as owning a business. And I really need to look at it as, boy, I've trained these people, made them fabulous. The clients love them, because you have to connect with a client. That's the most important thing. You have to create a relationship and connect. That's why they keep coming back. And that happens. So they fall in love with that person, and then that person leaves. Of course, they want to go with them. So and then, I'm the one that still has the overhead. I have all of the expenses that have now left. All the income has left from that. So I have to start over. I have started over in that aspect so many times. I think that's what has made me really like a little hardened, like a little strong. I really do.
Do you think that, I mean, for me, it's almost, I think of that old psychological term, fight or flight, right? It's like either like if there's no plan B, this is what I'm going to do. I'm committed to this. It's my purpose. You said purpose and commitment in the beginning of this discussion. It's very easy to go, forget this. This is too hard, but you haven't in more than 35 years plus.
45 years, 50 years. I've been doing makeup for 50 years. I started doing makeup in 1970, and I am 72 years old.
First of all, can I get all this?
I mean, it's like I started when I was 20.
Can I get all the Eugenia skincare? Because you're looking fabulous. In 50 years, and in as long as you've had the brand, and these moments that you've talked about, it sounds a little like this, right? You're riding high, you go here. You're riding high, you go here. I think we all have those emotions, right? Yeah. Your brow studio and brow and makeup studio are doing great, and then a competitor opens down the street, or somebody leaves your business who's a big revenue generator, and you go, ooh, and then you got to pick yourself back up. Well, is it the momentum? Is it that I don't have a plan B, this is what I do? Is it sink or swim? Is it fight or flight? What is the thing that keeps you continuing to go up even when you keep going back down sometimes?
I have rents to pay. No.
I know, that's it, right?
You know, I love this industry. I love this industry, and our customers love us. They love us. And I want to keep my studios going because it's a beautiful place to experience beauty for them, and they know it, and they know when they come in, they get treated so incredibly well, and when they leave, they're just so beautiful and uplifted. And I love dealing with clients. I love retail. I love, helping people with their beauty needs, and then they want to purchase the products that I have created. Of course, I've created the products through my time in my studios, though that is my incubation center of where I create my products. So when I first started in 76, I had a very small line. But as more clients came and I saw what their needs were, I started developing more and more products. So whatever the market needed, whatever their needs were, I started developing. I always worked with labs, and I always created my own products. So that really, created my line, made my line expand. So because then we had so many different people that would come in, all ages, all stages, all colors, all types, all different people. So I was able to create my brand to accommodate everybody. We custom blended foundation, so I never had a problem with any skin tone at all. We always custom blended. We had our base tones and our correctors, so we did every color, and we're known for our custom blending.
It's amazing. I think what you talked before about the client relationship a little bit, and then I asked, well, what keeps you going back up? And I don't know if you put the two together, but you talked about the client, like your passion and your heart and your love for your work and your love for your brand and your love for your client and your love for that experience from your end, not just from theirs. You love the process of working with a client.
I love it.
And
And that's fine. I know, because I haven't been working that much. And I went to the office the other day because I had a really busy day on Saturday at my studio. And I came back and I said, Theta, I just love working with my clients. They're so fabulous. And I've had my clients for 40 plus years. They still come to me for that long. In fact, Bet is back in town. After I do this, I'm going to her house and giving her a makeup lesson. And I just worked with her last week again. So I have been working with her for over 40 years. Tony Basil, over 40 years. Leslie Ann Warren, over 40 years.
icon.
I design makeup for all her films and movies, and Elizabeth Berkley. I don't have a ton, but I have my girls that have been coming to me. And then I have all my clients, my studio clients, my brow studio clients that come to me for all these many, many years. I love working with them because they love the beauty ideas, and they feel uplifted with, creating beauty for them. They love it.
Well,
and I love it too. It's fun.
Well, you just answered the entire question in like a 2-minute answer. The entire question of how do you remain tenacious?
That's it. Yeah.
It's in your heart. It's in your heart. Like there's nothing else you'd rather wake up and do. And I think that is such a big deal. It's very easy to push something aside if you don't love it. If you say, it's been hard and I don't love this, so I'm going to put it aside. If you love something, it is really hard to put it aside, even the most difficult times. On Makeup Magazine, the print edition, great example, right? That is not easy. It's a lot of work. I do most of it myself from the setup standpoint. I've got Stacy and I've got Alice help this time. And, it's like, it's a team, but if you wake up and you're excited about it and you want to see the result, and that relationship with your client is the result for you, right? So those connections and that 40-year relationship, that for me is a great lesson to our listeners. It's a great lesson to people.
You have to connect. You have to connect. And I've noticed that in my makeup studios, when I'm training makeup artists, I'll have makeup artists that are good, and I'll have makeup artists that are great, and their artistry. A lot of the times, the great ones that don't have the communication skills will not make the most money. The good ones with the communication skills, tons of money, because they can connect and communicate and listen and relate to a customer. And that's in all aspects, whether you're doing film, you're doing print, you're doing TV, whatever, bridal, you have to connect with people. It's just in all aspects of life, you have to.
It's important. And I think that, you know, when we think about this idea of persistence, this idea of commitment, this idea of purpose, all wrapped around this idea of tenacity, bouncing back, gripping onto something, continuing to exist, pushing yourself forward, all these pieces, your passion, your love for your craft, your love for the client or the work, you know, is it more for you that you shift your career and your business to meet the needs of the industry or the client? And is that part of tenacity? Or is it that you look at what you personally, are you reacting to keep active and to keep relevant, or are you creating to keep relevant and keep active?
I think I'm creating, and one thing that's really important, I love to help people. I'm helping people. When you help people, it's not about me. It's really not about me. It's about them. But what's about me is I have so much knowledge that when people come in, I know how to help them so well that they trust you. They have to gain trust in you. And once you help them and they see that you're helping them and the help is good and it keys into them as a person, because you have to key into every personality, because every face has a different face. You know, every face can have a different face. You have to choose the right face for them through your makeup, because a lot of makeup artists just slap on like some makeup that they've copied, but it's not the person's face. You have to key into that person, because one face has many faces, as I said. So you have to key in. I'm so good at keying in. I listen to people. I analyze them. I look at the way they dress, the way their mannerisms are. I just look at everything and I listen, and I can key in and know exactly what kind of makeup, what kind of style to do on them. And I hit it on the nail head every single time. And that is part of creation. That is a creative process too.
Yeah. What are some mistakes you see people make? You know, you've educated, and I don't mean necessarily like from a technique standpoint, right? You train people and they get strong at what they do, but you also, we as an industry are so lucky to have you as such an inspirational voice and someone who participates in the Powder Group programming and the makeup show and so many different ways that you inspire and educate. But you also see a lot of people come to you and go, I don't know what to do next, Eugenia, or here's my career path. Or you watch people that you know maybe make successful decisions or not successful decisions. What are some of the things that you find are the biggest misses that you see people make in their effort of moving their career forward, having that commitment, having that purpose?
Probably poor quality of work, not being authentic, just not managing themselves properly. I think probably, their ego, that it's all about them instead of being about the other person. And of course, the communication skills, being able to learn how to communicate with people properly and listen.
Amazing.
And they're not reliable. Some, I've had people that they don't come to work, or they're late, or you have to have a good work ethic. You have to have an amazing work ethic. And it doesn't matter if you're sick, you go to work. Well, now we don't.
Now I was like, wait a minute.
Sorry to say that.
No, we don't. No, we don't. No, we don't.
Sometimes they have a headache. They don't come to work, right? I mean, I just take my Excedrin and go.
Yeah. And we've talked about Excedrin before.
We've talked about Excedrin.
Let's talk. We've got a few minutes left. I wanna do a little word association with tenacity, and I want to ask you about tenacity as it relates to a few different really empower words to me. Okay, so what about tenacity and focus?
Tenacity and focus. Okay, I think you have to research a lot. You have to have a huge library of books so that you can focus on your craft. You have to study, study, study. You have to, the actual advice I got from Sebastian International, because I worked with them for a long time, was you have to eat, sleep, and drink this career. And I know that stuck in my head. And I know that it's a little hard for a lot of people to think, well, I don't, I want to take a vacation sometimes, or I want to, I got to be with my family sometimes and all that. But sometimes you can't do that in this industry. You have to focus on this industry so much that it really can take over your life. I find in this industry to be successful, it's almost that you have to do uber focusing on it and be there all the time. You got to be there when somebody calls you. You got to be there constantly. And the successful people are.
What about tenacity and inspiration?
Well, I mean, you always have to be, you have to find your place of inspiration. So I think that is personal for every single person. I think we get inspiration with other makeup artists that we admire. We have inspiration in, maybe in nature, in art, going to museums, whatever. Everybody has their own individual inspirations, and they have to be all different. But I think you need to take those seriously and learn from them.
Last one of these, because I think this is an important one. You have shown through you've done so much. Every time I pick up my phone, Eugenia Weston's going live. Every time I jump on Clubhouse, I see Eugenia Weston hanging out in her room. You do live, eat, and breathe it. You focus, you're determined, you're driven, you're grabbing it, you're continuing to exist and powerfully growing, even during a challenging time. How does tenacity come into planning? And let's take the pandemic out of the equation, because we're hopefully, knock on wood, starting to move toward a place where we'll resume some level of normalcy as we start moving forward into the later part of this year. So what does tenacity and planning, or future planning, how does that connect?
Well, for me, I'm a very curious person in this industry, and I want to know everything that's going on. Everything. I want to keep learning. I love to learn constantly. And every generation is so different that I learn from them. I like to learn what their mindset is in every new generation. I like to keep up. I really, really like to keep up. And as you said, I'm on Clubhouse, and I do my IG lives. I'm on Clubhouse. I learned so much from the entrepreneurs that are on, and different people and the questions that they ask, and business owners, and just makeup artists and beauty people and photographers, whoever's on. There's all types of subjects. And I love to learn and listen, so I have a mindset of what's going on in the world. And when I do my IG lives, I do that because I feel it's my time in my life to share my knowledge with people, because I give it all out for free. I give it all out. And it's just it did start in the pandemic, because I wanted to keep in contact with my people. I always want to keep in contact with everybody. And so I felt that was a way to do it. Even technologically, I'm so bad with that kind of stuff, but I learned how to do it. And I like to give my knowledge freely, because I think this is my time in my life, because I've accumulated so much knowledge through my experience that I'm able to pass that on to new people, new makeup artists, clients, whoever is on my IG live that wants to learn what I'm teaching. Amazing. So yeah,
I think that the idea of having foresight and having insight is an important part of tenacity too. And I think that
insight.
As you started, as the pandemic started, number one, thank you for saying yes every time I said, hey, we're doing something, Eugenia, would you guys like to be involved? Because you understood the importance of supporting our community. But also, as we started to move past it, your planning and your focus and your commitment to future planning is really impressive. And this idea, I said this to you the other day, and I said it to Thea as well. A lot of people are like, oh, we had to hold back on stuff during pandemic. You guys launched new skincare, like you have amazing skincare. Like there's things that have happened, with you and your brand that aren't just, I'm going to put it a nice normal. It's not normal. It's exceptional. And I think that's one of the reasons I was excited to have this conversation. So thank you. But I do want to make sure I ask one final question. Thinking about Tenacity, think about forward movement. What's next for Eugenia Weston and Senna?
Oh, I knew you would ask that. Well, what's next? I'm so old, probably death. Although all my girls that work for me say I'll live longer than them, but
I agree with them. I agree with them.
No. What I'm doing right now, what we're planning right now is I'm editing my makeup line. I'm really excited about it. This time has really made me reflect and focus on what we need to do with our cosmetic line, with our brand. And just by all the research and just going on all the webinars and the trade programs, magazines and everything, I've learned so much. And I've been really focused on that because I've had time to focus on it because we've been closed and we've had to focus. So I'm editing the line. I want to simplify it. And we're going into even further into sustainability, even though we have been that way for a long, long time. We've always had recyclable makeup kits and that people keep forever, and they just put we probably came out with the first palettes ever in the 70s. I had makeup palettes because we always had the little pans, and we always sold to professional makeup artists. So I had to make those palettes because I was on set and there was nothing in the marketplace. So I had to make those palettes in order for me to lift and carry my kit on makeup sets. When I started doing film in the early 80s, there were no palettes, or there was no Bobbi Brown's Max. There was no makeup, really. I was one of the first professional brand makeup artistry lines in Los Angeles. The only other ones, there was the Maquillage in New York, Stage Light, and then there was Krylon. There was the theatrical lines, and Mehron. There were the theatrical lines, but there was no new progressive professional pro makeup artistry line. I was the first one.
Wow.
And I can say that because I'm 72 years old. So I can prove that I was, because I started that, it's the dates, because I know a lot of people will say, well, I did it because this wasn't in the market. And I always say about the brow products, they go, oh, I started this. They say, I started it because there was no brow products. Well, I thought, you know what, how did Elizabeth Taylor and Marilyn Monroe put their brows on if there was no brow products? What was missing in the market? I think Max Factor did a real good job. You have to give people credit that started the path for us.
Yeah.
There's the people that came before us that you have to, give credit to. And I always will give credit to the woman that taught me how to do eyebrows. And, because everybody says that I'm not really the brow guru. This person that taught me, she's the brow goddess queen. She did it before anyone. Bobbi Joy Dawson. Bobbi Joy Dawson. She did it before anyone. She started the whole thing when nobody was doing brows. And so everybody else in this industry that thinks I'm the queen, I'm not. And everybody else that says they're the queen, they are not. Bobbi Joy is the queen.
Bobbi Joy Dawson.
Yeah, Bobbi Joy Dawson. She absolutely is.
Well, I think this idea, the idea of that giving credit where credit is due, having a good memory about who's played a role and who's played an important piece is so important. And that allows you that ability to move forward with You use the word confidence before. You know you're authentic. You know you're true. You know you have honesty. You know that you're committed to what is right and what is good in our industry. And I am grateful and lucky to call you a friend. And I know our industry is so lucky to have you. You're going to have another 50 years at this, I'm sure of it. So
If they ask me, are you retiring? I go, I don't know. I like what I do too much. I'm working all the time. It's fine. I'm okay.
well, we hope you keep going. We hope you don't
Oh,
retire anytime soon. We love you so much. Thank you for
I
being
love
with us
you
today.
and thank
Um,
everybody. I'm so thrilled to be part of this community.
well, we're thrilled to have you, and you are the queen, whether you want to hear it or not. You're the queen, the queen, the queen. Speaking of queens, I'm Michael DeVellis, and this has been the Powder Group Conversations with Eugenia Weston on Tenacity. A thank you to our sponsors again: Scandinavia, Cinema Secrets, Senna Cosmetics, Omnia, Beekman 1802, and Muse Beauty Pro. Thank you, Eugenia. Love you. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Thank you so much.